Alright guys, we are back in the Acer Team Story Cup, but also so is Quantic Gaming, finally getting a point on the board, losing still though, trailing behind 3-1 from Axiom Esports with a nice lead early on. Impact may not have gotten the all kill that he was destined for today, but he got 3 quick wins for Axiom, so they got to be impressed with him. First time they've been able to use him in the Acer Team Story Cup as a fun fact, so well played to him. We'll see if he comes back. He may be resurrected later on if it comes down to it, because he played so darn good today. But spawning here in the lower left corner of the map, playing for Quantic Gaming, it is going to be the Zerg man to make it all happen, Hyun. And his opponent in the lower right, playing for Axiom Esports with a somewhat similar sounding name. It is the Red Terran, Ryung. Love his little panda decal, by the way. Just looks awesome. But okay, Newkirk Precinct is a map that is a little bit dated, just like Star Station, but of course the Acer Team Story Cup picked a map pool a long time ago and hasn't changed it since. The only thing that changes every week is the order of the maps played. So you'll see the same maps every single week, but it's never the same order. So you're never going to see Akalon first, you know, see like 3 times in a row type thing. Obviously for that week it'll be first, but kind of interesting to see where this goes. I could and should look up the map order if I wasn't terrible at this, but I'm solo casting and I don't want to be tabbing in and out of the game like a bad, so we'll keep the distractions at a minimum for now. Big shoutouts goes to T-Jokas. I always say that name wrong, but I see him joining us in chat there. Just want to say a quick good morning to him. He's a really cool guy, and I've seen him on other streams like Tempo and stuff before. But Ryung going with the command center first on the low ground. Going to find himself getting harassed by this drone a tidbit. Kind of annoying to have to deal with, but already had another SCV out, so not an issue. I don't know if this one's just going to go scout or just to vanguard, I suppose, the SCV. Ryung with the skills to pay the bills, though. 16 health to the 25. Can take a hit or two, and of course, let's not forget Ryung can also repair, but oh, that drone! 3 HP will escape the base. Oh, but is he really going to come back in? Hyun with some balls of steel on this drone. Alright, going to back up for the time being. But Ryung, you know, he did what is not... what should I say? It's a standard opening. Go command center first is nothing out of the ordinary. But I think so many people are used to seeing Reapers at this point. If he had seen a Reaper, that drone would have died, of course. Would not have been a lot of fun for him. But coming across the map really early, with always the potential of killing off that command center, kind of worth the risk. But of course, Reapers, let's not forget as well, it sounds so dumb because of what I just said, and this is almost 100% contradictory, but it's like, okay, so Reapers aren't as common because they're falling out of favor now, but they're also expected because about half the time when you open with a Rax instead of a CC, the first thing you get out is a Reaper, so you can get the 2 Reapers to follow up with 6 Hellions, so... it's kind of like I guess you could almost call it a coin flip whether the Reaper comes out or not, but I think in the end doesn't really matter. Ryung did in fact go command center first. This, of course, means his Hellions are going to be slightly delayed, but not so much that it's really going to be devastating. They're not going to have that Reaper buffer for them, but of course you're still going to want them on the map. Reapers, or sorry, not Reapers, Hellions are kind of one of those essential parts of the early game for Terran. You can try skipping past them, but if you don't make Hellions, if you neglect making Hellions, Queens will just spread creep like crazy, and before you know it, at 11 minutes in the game, you've got creep, or sorry, not 11 minutes, probably more like 14 minutes of the game, you'll have creep on your doorstep right outside your natural. And it's important too. Creep, it doesn't seem like a lot, and it kind of almost feels like just filler to talk about. But in TVZ more than any other matchup, creep spread is essential. It's like a third resource. It's such a big deal, and you need to have it not just for presence, not just for speed, but for map control more than anything else. There's a lot of free scouting information. Your opponent has to force scans to clean it up. I mean, every time they scan for a creep tumor, that's like 270 resources. You're basically sucking 270 resources per creep tumor out of your opponent. Well, maybe not per creep tumor, because you can get more than 1 per scan, but the point is, you know what I'm saying. But a full wall up here for Ryung means he's going to be secure in the early game. No Roach all in, no Zergling Baneling bust, nothing will scare him for now. Not that Hyun's really going for it, but one thing Hyun does do, and this is what I'm getting a little bit worried about with the Roach Warren coming down, this third base, the question is, does he saturate this, or he's got such a strong bust where he does Roach Baneling off of 2-3 bases, but without saturating that third. We'll see what happens. Definitely doesn't have the gas count currently to invest in something so heavy such as that, but with the delayed Roach Warren, maybe. Yeah, he could just be playing standard versus Ryung too. You never really want to get one up in a series and then risk it all with a bust that could possibly fail through a terrible all-in. I should call it a terrible all-in, but if the all-in fails, then of course it's terrible. But Hellions going to scout around a little bit. Sadly, their map presence is kind of limited. They can't do much once speedlings are on play, and he's seen a couple of them. Not a lot, but he's seen a couple of them. You never can guess how many through that fog of war. There could be 20 waiting for you, or there could be 2. Either way, you got to be so careful you don't lose them for nothing. And looks like Hellions going to... Has anything actually died yet? No, nothing yet, so I still haven't missed first blood, guys. I can't believe we actually had nothing to die so far, but... looks like that one Viking, the sort of Polta-esque Viking as it's become known as. You make one Viking, fly around the field, try and pick off at least 3 Overlords before going down. Kind of the goal. Hellions, of course, know those Lings are somewhere trying to find them. Wants to make sure that free information is not available. But Roaches are going to get scouted by the Viking that is Overlord hunting, so may pull back with the Hellions should... Yep, they're going to pull back. Extra bunkers coming down because Ryung is, of course, going to struggle to hold with what he currently has, but he can repair this bunker through this. I mean, he's going to lose some SCVs for it, but the amount of roaches available are not enough to one-shot the bunker. So if he pulls some SCVs now, yeah, pre-pulling. I like this move. Is he actually going to push out, though? Maybe he's not. Maybe he's just going to soft contain. Can we get the game sound a bit louder? Absolutely. Here. Hope that's better. If it's not, let me know. I can keep tweaking with it to make it what I can. But Overseer going to come in and provide that high ground vision with the speed. Also, most importantly, going to detect for Widow Mines. I guess that's the biggest fear out of Hyun right now, is he doesn't want to walk those roaches into some Widow Mines. But 4th base coming up. Going to take that little bit of a pocket expand and actually putting a macro hatchery here at the 3rd. Kind of a cool move, as often drops up here can be a big problem to deal with. Vikings gotten 2 kills so far. Here comes number 3, so... pretty much paid for itself at this point, even if it goes down. Actually, supply blocks here, albeit briefly. You can pick off the Overseer if he turns around for it, but gonna keep Overlord hunting for the time being. I've seen, by the way, so the highest record of all time was Polt in the Zotek Cup, had 11 kills on this Overlord hunting Viking one time, but hold the phone, we'll talk about that later. Polt's not here, and we do have Ryung dropping 2 full medevacs. Ooh, pulls back immediately. Of course, that Overseer in the middle, or the Overlord here did see that coming, but a 4th Overlord kill gonna go down. Wouldn't mind with this. Not going to accomplish too much, sadly, with the amount of Overseers available. Detection won't be a problem for Hyun. Of course, going to get some Banelings in. Now, this is kind of a style we're seeing become more popular, and I think will be the next, the big deal for the next little while. Where instead of going like immediately Mutalisks, Banelings, and Zerglings, you'll go for Roaches into Mutalisks with Banelings to accompany them. But drop your at the 3rd base, almost picks it up, but will just pick up and drop to the main. This is kind of the Star Station problem, as I like to refer to it as. You just keep lifting between these 2 bases, but Ryung is going to lose everything if he stays up there. Forced to pull back one more time. Combat Shell's not quite done, and of course these Hellions poised and ready to strike, but there's Banelings waiting for them. If these just run into the top of the ramp, they are going to explode. Transferring down to the 3rd there. Ryung is setting himself quite nicely. Not exactly in complete control of this game, but not scared of Hyun. He's not behind, and he's not worried about anything, but Hyun is kind of ramping up for this really scary-looking army. Again, the roaches here in the early game are kind of cool. They're kind of nice. You don't really need upgrades on roaches to make them effective. Bio, of course, is going to beat out roaches with stim, but they're very, again, robust units. They've got a health pool that can soak hits, and if they can soak a couple hits for the Banelings to roll, and so much more power to them, but going to find a small little poke force from Ryung here in the middle of the map. This Viking, how many kills is this Viking up to now? 4 kills so far. Going to maybe get a 5th for the Overseer. The Overseer's so fast with those upgrades. Pneumatized Carapace is a cool thing, but... Alright, surrounding from both sides. This is going to pick up and fall back. A couple of Marines going to die here, sadly, but they will kill... Oh, actually, maybe not die. What? Hero Marines! Hero Marines coming in from the flank. Going to hit from behind. Soak those Baneling hits, though. Bunker will go down here in a matter of seconds. And he has got a lot of Banelings rolling in. The best part about this, too, is he's making another set behind us. So he's got 10 more Banelings coming as the follow-up. Oh, God. Ryung, lift the supply depot. You need to hold on to this. For dear life, you need to hold on to this. Now, Hyun looks like he's done a ton of damage, guys. 10 workers killed, and most of the army has been eviscerated. But look how many Banelings were thrown away for this. Of course, if you show the units lost, it actually doesn't show Banelings you detonate to kill things, but Banelings you killed by Ryung were 12. On top of all the ones he had to dedicate to this, oh boy. Hyun not exactly coming out ahead, resources lost, but of course with that 4th base can afford to make these economic sacrifices. With the 3rd base currently floating in the air of Ryung, he knows that his opponent is going to be suffering some economic damage himself by not mining from this base. Not to mention all the SCVs that were so deliciously picked off by his Banelings. Gonna go long way around the map. Finally gonna try and get a drop off. This is okay. So this is the advantage and disadvantage of this style, right? As we see from Hyun, you kind of have ground control. Ground control to Major Tom. You get to just kind of viciously decide, look, Ryung, you don't get to go anywhere. You don't get a third base. You can't do anything for the time being. But because of this, you don't get Mutalisks till much later. We see the Spire coming up now, and this was the transition I was talking about earlier. But Medivacs free to drop wherever they want, but they haven't been able to because Hyun's had defenses everywhere, waiting for drops the entirety of the game. Knowing the one weak point, the chink in his armor, he is absolutely covering it. I mean, earlier when we saw the drops here between the third and the natural, I mean, he had roaches on the high ground, roaches on the low ground. Ryung was not able to do much with it, and looks like unloading the Marines here will probably sim and walk into the base after he cleans up this Overlord, tries to get rid of the vision, so he will be detected at the last possible second. But again, there's Lings already waiting here. Banelings are morphing in. The prediction Hyun is making right now is that Ryung wants to attack this base. He wants to harass. And absolutely Ryung does. 5 kills in this Viking, by the way. Big shout out to Mr. Viking Pilot. But oh, in the middle of the map, a big pickup is going to be necessary. Baneling's going to roll in. Yeah, big pickup saves the majority of the army. We got Woodamine spread out kind of like bad acne. Will it be enough, though? The Overseer, of course, is going to provide detection. And oh, no! Oh, no! Who's the barcode? Oh, no! What a terrible time to lag out because, of course, this is in the heat of the battle. The heat of the moments. And Hyun. Ryung is kind of in the same scenario where they're both just caught so off guard by this lag out, and that's really unfortunate too. This is gonna suck because this next fight could like, depending on who's got the control, as soon as this comes out, as soon as the lag ends, whoever's got the better control is gonna come out ahead in this victory. This is already so difficult to execute as is. Oh man, oh man. Side note, while we're lagging out, guys, 1K hype! I want to thank you guys for tuning into the stream. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. And as always, if there's anything wrong with it, if the sounds are too low, if I'm too loud, whatever the case may be, if the video's lagging, let me know so I can try and fix it for you. But, alright, here comes the resume. Marine's going to try and sim back through this. Most of the banelings were taken out initially, so that fear is no longer there. And because of this, Hyun is forced to back up. Here comes that second round of banelings, though. And I gotta give credit to Hyun. This is what he does that makes him so much better than the rest. He always has that second wave of banelings on the way. I'll talk about that more in a second, but the Roach is still going to push into this. There's still so many Widowmines available, so ending this base is not going to happen. This drop here, the third, wherever happened to it, I don't know, it probably got destroyed. We were too busy watching the big fight over here, but I was going to say, what Hyun does that I really admire from his Zerg players, first off, sometimes he'll make like just straight up 60 banelings. If you guys have seen Hyun play before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the problem is, you can't really just set a move those in with Widowmines. So what he does instead is he'll split up the forces. He'll have like 20 banelings ready, and as he attacks, he starts the next wave immediately. He doesn't wait till everything's said and done. He already has another 10 banelings ready to roll in. Now, unfortunately, combination of the Widowmine placement being so good out of Ryung and the positioning of this fight just being terrible, Hyun wasn't even able to take advantage of those additional banelings. But if this had been anywhere else on the map, and if there had been like even maybe 2 or 3 less Widowmines, he would have rolled through that army. But okay, Queen can get picked up here for free. Looks like some Mutalisks though finally got on the field, so they are on the other side of the map, harassing the worker line. Picked off a couple more, but let's not forget he already killed 10 earlier this game, so that's only 7 killed for now. Drop in the north. Looks like it wants to push in, but again, this Spore Crawlers is a Spine Crawler. Widowmine's not going to be able to get too much done. Hyun's not looking too good at this point, though. I mean, his Baneling waves have been crashing in, and not doing economic damage is the problem. Like, typically for the amount of Banelings lost this game, you'd want to see almost double those workers killed. Quite frankly, probably 3 times those workers killed, but he's got the Mutalisk gun up finally. We're seeing that more classical ZVT, but it's 2-2. Coming up on level 3 upgrades is Ryung. He's already got level 3 weapon upgrades, and that's going to be enough for this first engagement. Will the Widowmine spread be enough? Overlords and Banelings, or Overseers and Banelings, just going to roll right in, and looks like the base will be lifted, but the Marines have been taken out. Was that even enough, though? The missile turrets will deter the Mutalisks, and looks like Hyun will be forced to back up one more time. I want to point out, though, only 3 workers killed. I mean, really, those kamikaze on the Marines for the Banelings, not a bad choice, but if you had rolled those into the SCVs, maybe he could have killed the turrets, and then maybe he could have pressed the issue with these Mutalisks. But who am I to tell Hyun what to do? Because right now he's actually going to attack that 4th base and move into the main. So splitting the forces of Ryung. He's going to have to choose one of these bases. So actually, it just lifts off. Of course, that's how Zerglings work. I forgot. But looks like this drop will be picked off here at the 3rd. So, again, Ryung, he's defending masterfully. He is holding on to this like a boss. However, he's not causing damage back at home for Hyun. All the damage caused to Hyun so far has been kind of himself throwing units away. Whether it was unnecessarily or through bad engagements, the point is Hyun's caused more damage to himself than Ryung has. I guess that's Banelings for you. But oh god, this is a lot of Zerglings. I'm kind of with this gas count building up. Is he going to be more Banelings? I've got to wait and see how many he's going to send into this base. Of course, this will be a planetary fortress. Yeah, rocks were knocked down too, so the debris is going to be there. Yeah. Yeah, Middle's going to take a pretty nice fight. It's actually not enough Marines here, especially without medevac support, but here come the medevacs, which makes the Marines a little bit stronger. It looks like Hyun will pull back, but this was the distraction he wanted, the distraction he needed. And like I said before, always making Banelings as he attacks. But seeing that it's a planetary force to turn around, this Widowmine clump is actually in a lot of danger if the Banelings go on top of it, kill all the Widowmines immediately. But of course, there's just not enough to deal with the follow-up. The Bioforce is too strong. Ryung is too clumped. He's on 3-3. And he's going to have no problem dealing with Zerglings. The Banelings are the big threat, but of course the Banelings aren't getting the connections they want to all game. 80 Banelings coming, or Zerglings coming out next. So not going for Infestor Tech or anything like that. Continuing to invest in this Mule is going to get the damage upgrades, try and make this more viable to use, but all it takes is one bad engagement. If Hyun flies over a clump of Widowmines, that could be it for him. That could be, I don't know. Another base gets established, though. He's still spreading like creep like a madman. He's not being shut down. Ryung is, I gotta say, like, this kind of reminds me of watching somebody play mech, but with bio, you know, where you slowly expand, you slowly build up your army, you bulk up and try and push out. His drops have been useless. Think of them kind of akin to that of like a Hellbat drop, you know, just their presence is there, but that's about it. They're not doing a whole lot. The main's been mined out, so if he drops in the main, he's not going to pick off much more than a hive, but 3-3's already been started. Ultralisk Cavern is being made, but it's getting to that time where we're going to start seeing Tech Labs get on in a second. We'll talk about that in a second. However, big engagement is going to try to knock down this planetary. Banelings are going to glide into this, and they do knock it down. He detonates every single Baneling to make that happen, but again, just remaking the command center right away. Ryung, who's had his economy left untouched for the entirety of this game, has more than enough resources to remake this. Looks like a drop, though, from Ryung. Finally does get off into the main, but medevac going down immediately means the Zerglings can clean this up, but oh no, Hyun's scumbag Zerglings. What? Oh, I guess he's busy retreating in the middle of the map using his Mutalist, but that's going to cost him. That's going to cost him a queen and a little bit more with those gases. Ultra's Cavern is finished, so maybe these 3 Ultras coming out, that tech swap might be enough to catch him off guard. A couple Lings going to poke around here at the 4th base, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Evacuating his own 5th. Hyun is just being run amok, split all over the map, doesn't quite know where to go. Baneling's being used to clean up the Marines. However, where are those Ultralists? About to pop here in a second. Chitinous Plating will not be available, and oh, this is going to suck for Hyun. This is a tech showing that he can't really afford to do. The biggest advantage to Ultras, of course, is when you catch your opponent off guard, you know? When they've got all the barracks like Ryung currently does, where there's all reactors and only a very limited amount of tech labs, you know, you come into a Marine army and you run over it with Ultralists. You just absolutely decimate it. But when he sees this coming, when he sees the Ultralists early, we'll have tech labs, we'll have Marauders, he will be able to fend this off. Do I have reduced violence on? Hang on. What's that? Gameplay? Whatever. I'll look for it later. Reduced violence. Why is that forced on? How do I check that off? I'll look for that later. I'm like, where are the blood splats that I normally see on North America, but on Korea? I guess maybe it's because it's Korea it's locked on. I don't know. I obviously never play on Korea, and we cast on Korea so rarely, so. It's like, where's the blood? The Marines are just dying in these like little husks of corpses. There's no blood pouring out of them. There's no massacre going on. But level 3 flyer attacks coming out. Hyun has definitely been dedicating to these Mutalisks, and of course with grade 8, he's kept a lot of them alive so far, despite constantly flying over Marines on top of Widow Mines. But the one thing he hasn't had to contend with yet has been Thors. And now we have Thors coming out for Ryung, and this is going to be fantastic. They'll soak the Baneling hits. They'll do massive damage to the Mutalisks. They don't have a lot of upgrades, mind you, so a magic box on top of low amounts of Thors will kill them outright, but this is, I don't know. Thor's punch a hole through Ultralisks. Marauders are going to be fantastic for that as well. Another base is going to be shut down here for Hyun, trying to take that northern base as well, but it's going to be dropped by Ryung while this is happening. So multi-prong attacks happening, and I can't catch a break to breathe, much less drink water with these guys and their crazy amount of action. Ryung is just going to posture back there for the time, but he knows that by constantly shutting these bases down, Hyun, as a Zerg player, is not going to have that bank or the economy just overwhelm him. And as a Zerg player, that's kind of what you need to do. You throw in that first wave, you pull out the second one, remaxed immediately, you try and just outproduce your opponent, but these drops have been doing a great job all game. Constantly, he's caused no damage until now. 27 minutes of the game, we finally have drops doing damage, shutting down bases, attacking into naturals, and just fantastic. Another hit squad has been set up. Burrowed Zerglings are trying to deny more bases, but an attack in the middle of the map going to show that more Thor actually gets a pop-off on the one Mutalisk, not a whole lot. But of course, Widow Mines are just such a big, constant presence threat on the front lines. Quantic's Hyun is not... He's got mobility on his side, but he can't utilize it. He can't clump up, he can't fly past his Thor, he can't fly into Widow Mines, and no cancel on that base again. So much damage being dealt here, but here comes the Ultralisk finally finding a way to attack. They do get on top of this, and the Mutalisk pull back just ever so slightly enough to make the Marines firing the Ultras instead of the Mutalisk, and now kiting for their lives is Ryung, and he's going to actually kite this Ultralisk down. One Ultralisk remaining is not going to be that big of a threat, but looks like the Mutalisk clean up most of the Marines. Decide not to press the issue, though. Really intelligent. But Hyun needs to get more Ultralisks available. Looks like he did try and go into the Planetary Fortress with that squad that was set up here, but not too much damage getting done, as again, it's a Planetary freaking Fortress. Does he have building armor? No building armor, so even a weak Planetary Fortress can stand up to Banelings and Zerglings. Oh, man. Well, while this constant back and forth is happening, I do need to take a second to give a big welcome and shout out to just subscribe to Base Trade TV subscriber hype. Welcome to the family, my friend. But Ryung is going to push up into Hyun's base here northward. This is one of the more important bases. He's starting to mine out of his other ones. He needs to establish an economy, as right now his economy is just not where it needs to be. He's down a lot of resources and he can't max out. This is what's really scary. As a Zerg player, you should be able to max out at any given time if you're ahead, but sadly, not even at 150 supply, stuck at 131. Forced to take another fight here in the north. Banelings are going to go off on the Marines, but it's not enough transfuses for the Ultralisks. Where are they, Hyun? Alright, there's the transfuse going to go off. Turn this around one more time, but while this is going on, there's just been no counterattacks. There's been no Ling run-bys. Held so well by Ryung so far. These Ultras will go down eventually. The Bioforce is a little too much, and the Queens run out of transfuses. Another Ultras comes from behind, but it runs on past the army. What? Just a little bit of a spin. Good game is called, though, and Ryung will seek out the victory. That puts Axiom 4-1. This puts Quantic Gaming on match point, ladies and gentlemen. Who do they send out for their last game? Well, possibly last game, I should say. They can still turn this around and win the series. It's always a possibility, no matter how unlikely. But we are going to take this time to toss out to ads, and I will, of course, update you in chat once we know who or what or where will be coming up next. Again, much love goes out to Accuracy. Thanks for subscribing, man. If you guys are in chat as well, you can take part in the vote we got down here. It's, of course, going to be updated live for me, but a little bit delayed for you because of the stream delay. Currently got 31 people who have voted so far, 24 of you thinking Axiom's going to take this home, and 7 of you voting for Quantic Gaming. Where is the Quantic love, ladies and gentlemen? Anyways, we'll be back in just a sec.